Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50. Today's episode, of course you don't want a rectal examination. Now, when we started recently, one of the changes has been because we used to come up with our own titles to this podcast, and Ali, our man who does all our sound engineering and content marketing and all the rest of it, and our offsider, basically said to us, you guys need to stop making up titles because you keep coming up with these things that you think are really clever and really funny, but they're actually not. And so he's then put his own different title in. But for this one, Michael, this was your concept that you just came up with while we were having a coffee before. And I thought, there's no other way to put this. There's no other better title than, of course you don't want a rectal examination. Now, what are you talking about?
So we're going to try not to use the word or the phrase rectal examination too much in this, but I wanted to paint a picture in the audience's head. Yeah. People generally dislike going to a doctor's surgery.
Yep.
What people want to be is they want to be healthy.
Yes. Yep. No one enjoys going to a doctor.
So no one enjoys the process of actually going to the doctor's surgery. Of course, you go to the doctor's surgery, there's a chance you might get a rectal examination if you're there. No one likes it.
Yeah.
I mean, but in general, no one likes going to doctor's surgeries. Yeah. In any event, people like to be healthy.
Yeah.
Our industry, financial planning industry, has assumed incorrectly for far too long that clients enjoy
talking about money.
They enjoy
thinking about money.
Yeah, in an extreme, this industry has come from quarterly meetings,
Yes.
face-to-face meetings. So people, the clients would get invited in once every 3 months to talk about pie charts and things like that. Now it's come a long way since then.
Yeah.
But what we're finding, and this has occurred to me over the last couple of years, but it reminded me just the other day. Got to spend 5 days on Magnetic Island. We've spoken about Magnetic Island before.
Yeah.
It's just,
if you haven't been,
check it out. It's fantastic. So it's just a 20-minute ferry ride from Townsville. It's just paradise. So there were quite a few early retired looking couples that I saw on the island, and I got to thinking. It reminded me that being on holidays is as far away from being in a financial planner's office or a doctor's surgery as you possibly can be.
Yeah.
And that's where people want to be, and that's where we want our clients to be as well.
Yeah.
We want them to be on Magnetic Island,
having
or
a
on
good time.
on the French Riviera or wherever that is,
Yeah.
having a good time and as far away from our office as possible. Now, that's not to say that we don't want to see them and we don't want to have valuable conversations.
But I think that's
with
a
them,
great point. Is that it's for us a matter of the conversations that we have with our client. You want the amount that's required, but no more. And that, like you say, as an industry, we've come from a thing of a lot of advisors have tried to show their worth by having constant meetings with people and letting their clients know, hey, we're doing this and we're doing that. The whole point of the way that we see it, the types of clients that we work best with, they don't want to know. They just, like you say, they don't want to have the doctor's appointment. They just want to be healthy. And so, we do have 6-monthly reviews with our clients, and we do, offer meetings in other times and all the rest of it. But most of our clients, and I think that you touched on a point here, there's a lot of people that I've spoken to that have said, and I probably should do something about this, but I don't really like talking about money or thinking about my money, as though the people who go to see an advisor, do enjoy thinking about their money or do enjoy planning for their future and the rest of it. And it's funny because, like we've seen before, it's the opposite of that. If you really do enjoy doing financial planning and learning about legislation and understanding how investing works and the rest of it, you're probably a financial advisor. Because if you enjoy doing that, if you genuinely enjoy that, and your situation's simple enough, potentially you can do your own. The whole point of going to see a financial advisor or meeting with someone on a regular basis it's more important if you definitely don't enjoy doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so one of the changes that we've made, Dallas, of course, is that you mentioned we do have a 6-monthly review meeting, or a progress meeting, as we call it, with our clients. However, that meeting can take the shape, or it does take the shape of a vastly different style of meeting. We actually send people a video summary of their position.
Yeah,
that goes for about 10 minutes. We send them. We will mention in that video that if we definitely do need to see them to get something done, or if a meeting's optional, and then if they would like to book in for a meeting after that, there's a couple of different ways they can do that. They can do that via Zoom meeting, which a lot of people prefer to do, and a lot of our clients, of course, are Australia wide, so they opt for that, or they can book in for a face-to-face meeting at that point in time as well. So, I mean, what I think people more than ever want is to know that their financial advisor is across everything that's important to them. It's being handled, and that they're taking advantage of everything they can take advantage of. They don't necessarily want to be sitting in a doctor's surgery.
No, that's exactly right.
They want to be on holidays. They want to be traveling. They want to be, spending time with their family and all those types of things.
Yeah.
So,
and that's, I think a great analogy to draw there is, like you say, I think that's it's people don't want to see a doctor. They want to be healthy. People don't want to meet with a financial advisor. They don't want to talk about the future, and they don't want to talk about their superannuation, and they don't want to talk about investment strategies and tax savings and the rest of it. Most people, even when I get talking to my wife about this, Nicola will often just go, "Oh, that sounds terrible. That sounds like my worst nightmare." So we understand that most people don't want to talk about those things, and that's kind of why we try and structure things in a way where you're having those conversations. You're only having conversations that are actually valuable and important for our clients, and that we're doing that in a way where we're trying to, instead of trying to make ourselves more important in people's lives, we're trying to just take care of things so that they can go and live the life they want, and they're not, as you say, they're not sitting in the waiting room every quarter, or they're not doing that. They know that they're across it. They know we're across it. They know that if they need us, they get in touch with us. They know that if we need them, we get in touch with them. And that's kind of how it works, rather than going, oh, these guys are annoying me again, wanting to book in a meeting and want to talk about stuff that I just don't care about and that isn't important to me. And I had a good example of this the other day. I had a client, or a couple who are clients of mine, that we're in the process of getting our end of financial year reviews, but something had changed in their situation. They'd sold a property, and we need to work out what to do with this leftover cash. And so it was kind of a situation where I was doing the meeting, and then a couple of weeks later we were due to do our actual end of financial year standard sort of review. And so at the start of the Zoom meeting, I said, well, we can do this one of two ways. Either we can cover off on everything now, or we can have this meeting to discuss this part of it, and then we can have another meeting in a month's time. They very, very quickly let me know that they didn't want to have another meeting in a month's time. So that was Robert Ann, if you're listening here, that they were polite enough to say, we're happy to talk to you again in a month's time, but maybe for a beer at the Watermark or something like that. So they knew that they needed to get this new change in their situation. They knew that they needed to get that sorted now. And they knew they needed to do the end of financial year stuff that we do every year. They just wanted it done, taken care of, tidied up, and then put it aside so they can go back to doing what they want to be doing. And so that's sort of, like you say, probably a difference in the industry, or maybe a difference in how we see our role, is facilitating that life for people instead of trying to be your chest and be this, very self-important part of people's situation when, like you say, they just want to be healthy.
Yeah, well, I mean, what got me into thinking about it is when I was actually in a doctor's surgery one time, and I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if somehow a pack turned up and it said, prick your finger, and you sent a little blood sample away, and then a week later, your doctor recorded a video for you and said, okay, Michael, we've done your annual blood diagnosis just to see how you compared to last year. And what's shown up here is that your cholesterol's a little bit high, which means you're probably carrying a few extra kilos, and you should be. Some of the things that you might want to consider as
these changes.
Booking into this link here. Here's a dietitian with a diet plan, or here's something that's attached.
Yeah.
That to me is a far better experience than actually going and waiting for 40 minutes in a doctor's surgery. It's a better experience. For me, it's a better experience for the doctor, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
If that was possible. So that's really what we've tried to replicate there.
Yeah.
What you need to, there's a finding a happy medium of actually knowing enough about someone and knowing enough about the changes that are occurring in their lives and what's important in their lives.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you did monthly meetings with someone, you'd probably know a little bit more about them.
Yeah.
But it's overkill in terms of impinging on their lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, what we've been able to do, we believe, is certainly
get that balance,
foster that balance right, where the communication lines in between those 6 monthly meetings are open.
Yeah.
And there's times in our clients' lives when they've got more going on from a financial position in terms of selling an asset or. I had an email just the other day from a doctor client of mine, and he said, we've been going gung-ho at putting money away from my retirement, but I feel I'm probably working a little bit too much now. So he's got a couple of different employers. So we're tabling that for our next meeting. So that tends to work well.
Yeah.
I mean, we want people to be living their fulfilled lives and not necessarily sitting face to face and fighting traffic to actually get into.
And that's, I think, the point of this podcast is it's not just for us to pump our tires, but how I think we've got that right. It's to say that if you're listening to this and you go, I probably need to do something, but I don't want to do that because I don't like thinking about money. I don't like talking about it. Like I said, that's the whole point. The point is the more that you don't like thinking about money, the more that you probably need to be meeting with someone and at least handing over a part of that responsibility to someone else. And like you had this example a little while ago where you had a meeting with a new client. I think that you said it was the most knowledgeable, a person who just loved thinking about financial planning and knew all the legislation, knew all the rules, knew all the rest of it, and that was almost her hobby was learning about all these sorts of things. And at the end of that meeting, you kind of went, well, you probably don't really need me because you really enjoy this, and that's you should probably just take care of it yourself. Whereas for the people that really don't enjoy it and really don't want to think about it, they're the people that probably need to be meeting with an advisor more so than someone who does enjoy it.
Yeah, and there's a real friction point there at the moment.
Yeah,
and the friction point is actually booking in for a meeting with a financial advisor. People just don't enjoy that in general.
No.
And to think that if you're meeting with a financial advisor for the first time, you may actually have to get 3 opinions or 2 opinions at least. It's a real sticking point for people because traditionally it has been an arduous process of collecting a lot of information before you go in,
filling out all sorts of
forms,
questionnaires and forms, and
So we've tried to remove that friction and cut down that friction. We offer our first meeting that we do with most people these days via Zoom because they come to us via way of the podcast and they can be listening from anywhere in Australia. That's a real low friction way to meet with someone because we're not even in the same room. So there's certainly you don't even have to leave your house to have that meeting. We ask for bare minimum of information just so we can have a productive meeting for that first meeting. So it's not an overabundance of information that we're asking for, and there's certainly no cost or obligation to that meeting.
Yeah.
And we get some real people comment that they got a real lot of value out of that meeting, and they either choose to become a client at that point in time, or
at the very least, they feel much better about than their knowledge of the situation they're in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. I think, like you said before, there's a trade-off there between you could just meet with someone without having any prior information, but the downside is probably not as valuable for that person because you don't have the ability to do any sort of thinking in advance of that. Or you could go the extreme and ask for a huge amount of information. You'd know everything about them, but it's hard for people to get motivated to do that. So, yeah, it's really just about, especially that first meeting, get the bare minimum, get an understanding, and be able to have that conversation with people. That and I think, that's what we've said. The lower friction you can make that, the more comfortable people are. Like, as the title of this podcast sort of says, no one's expecting that meeting with a financial planner is going to be a fun thing or something you're really looking forward to. It's more just a thing where there's an output of where you want to end up financially. You know that you need to take a bit of control of your situation and get things on track. It's really just about getting the ball rolling on that as simply and easy as possible.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.